Hello Ranger Nation, my name is Sharpo and this will be my second Pitch Please episode on one of my favourite franchises, Power Rangers. Previously I offered you my take on what the Psychopath story could have been, and it's been pretty well received, so I'm super thankful for everyone who watched it and gave feedback. But today I'm tackling something that is a little more difficult by its very nature. Now, I could rewrite TV shows, movies and comics all damn day, but tabletop RPGs? That's a whole other beast. Power Rangers Hyperforce was a web series produced by Hyper RPG and predominantly saw a cast of Ranger alumni, YouTubers and voice actors portray an all-new team of Rangers in a pseudo-sequel to Power Rangers Time Force. Malika Lim, the game master, and Zach Eubank, the series writer, came up with a pretty brilliant premise and then let the cast run riot across 25 live-streamed episodes. It was pretty hilarious in a herding cats kind of way, and that's been the biggest hurdle I have suffered with and why this has taken so long to put out. While the general framework was provided by Malika and Zach, what carried a lot of the show was the improv of the main cast. Peter Sadasso's earnestness, Megan Camarena's hyperactive bubbliness, Christina V and Andre Meadows' character-based tragic romance, and Paul Schreier acting like the teen dad. All of the performances were uniquely theirs, and that's what I've struggled to convey. I can write scenarios to put this team in. I can give them grand adventures to go on and evil conspiracies to expose, but as a writer who absolutely loves to write dialogue, I cannot tell you how difficult it has been to write in these characters' voices, because so much of their personality is inherently tied to their players. I definitely couldn't write Megan's Chloe Ashford or Yoshi Sadasso's Joe Shi to any convincing degree, that's for damn sure. Whilst trying to come up with what would probably be a second season comic mini-series for this team, I went through 3 to 4 draft scripts and none of them felt right to me. Each was different in their own way, each could be the basis for a fairly decent RPG adventure, but none really came together because I couldn't, in my own mind, breathe life into the characters in the same way that the cast could, and thus write a genuine Hyperforce experience. So for this Power Month special, I'm going to talk through some of my ideas in a more informal way and where I take things generally, because I honestly don't have the confidence in my ability to deliver something more akin to my Psychopath rewrite. So here's my general pitch for Hyperforce Season 2, tentatively titled HyperQuest. Yeah, hi guys, my face. So while you have Hyperforce running in the background, I'm just going to run through some of the ideas that I had. And the first big one is going to be fixing that ending, because the end of Season 1 of Hyperforce was a bit of a downer. Time was basically broken, and it would take a lot to kind of walk that back. And I think it'd be a disservice for me to just kind of skip over all that. But really, I don't want to do that. Like, that's the most boring part of it for me. So what I would say is that in the course of Hyperforce going back in time to around 1997 Angel Grove, is that the now empowered Rita and Zed would have conquered Earth, or at the very least Angel Grove, and took Zordon, the Power Rangers, maybe even the Equinox Rangers hostage, and put them into a gladiatorial arena. So we can have just a sense of like how Rita and Zed would have conquered, and like have the Moon Palace be surrounded by this gladiatorial arena, and have like Bulk and Skullby concession guys, and that's basically how bad it is. Like, so I want it to be proper apocalyptic. So the Hyperforce Rangers come in like big damn heroes, this stop like putties imprisoning more people. They have a quick fight with Goldar. They regroup back at a destroyed command center and go over the plan of how to rescue Zordon and the Rangers. And they basically come up with a real Looney Tunes idea that would consist of them using the rad bug and like prototype turbo Zords that Billy had been working on in like the kind of almost pre-Zeo. Like that's where I figure he started. And while Rita and Zed bring forth their child Thrax, like this newborn babe, and announce that for his birthday they will finally kill Zordon and the Rangers in this grand gladiatorial arena. Podium rises with the Rangers and Zordon in his tube, and then like the gates open and you hear the like the March of the Gladiators song. And then the rad bug, like painted like a clown car, comes sputtering out, like billowing smoke and everything to kind of cover the arena. And while Zed and Thrax are kind of like laughing at it, Rita pegs that this is a bit weird, but ultimately it's too late as there's flash of light within the smoke, and the Hyperforce Rangers escape using these prototype turbo Zords, each carrying like a number of their like opposite number Rangers, and like you can have little quips and like some business. You can have Billy in the rad bug with like Marv, and like Marv explained like they're there to help, and Billy immediately pegged like you're from a different time, and try and keep that secret going forward, and then get back to the command center, regroup, like have some banter between the teams and stuff like that, and then have this massive siege on what's left of the command center, or like the ruins around it, by the new empowered Zed and Rita. Not sure how it would work out, but ultimately I want to do like a couple things. I want Thrax to end up in a space dumpster to kind of like explain that away, and I want Zed and Rita to be depowered to the point where they retreat, like everything they brought into Angel Grove disappears back to like the moon, and have like the Machine Empire hovering in space, like near Earth, just watching. So it kind of resets everything back to a semi-decent point. Have the command center reconstruct how it did in the Zeo pilot. Then we'll have Hyperforce saying their goodbyes as they've fixed the time ship, and then these Black Ops guys appear out of nowhere. They kind of just like appear out of shadows, and they immediately mind wipe the Mighty Morphin Rangers and Zordon. They set down a little device, and then the same shadows they appeared from also withdraw both the Hyperforce Rangers, these Black Ops guys, and their fixed time ship. From that point, we will have them reappear in Outpost 1, which is the secret Time Force black site, which is outside of time and space, and this Black Ops group is revealed to be a secret squad developed by the shady incarnation of Alex Drake. So he's got the shades, he's got like the black uniform, like he looks proper sus, and he calls them the Equinox squad. And I'm taking a little bit of influence from like Loki here, so they're kind of like TVA agents, and the device they left behind is something that will reset the timeline to the best it can be. Like the Hyperforce squad did like try and put everything back on track, and for the most part they did, though it was a little scuffed. Their device, their new technology will set it right and put it back on its prime course. Then we have Jen appear, so we can have a show of, okay, this is legitimate, this isn't shady or anything. And because we're on Outpost 1, that ties into Sins of the Future, where she said this can be like a space for all Rangers. And I want this to be the jumping off point for where I want Hyperforce to go, because Time Force already covers time. Hyperforce should be something more. So I'm thinking multiverse. And Jen and Alex explain that due to multiple incursions and a degradation from the grid, that like the events of Dimensions in Danger and Shattered Grid took a greater toll than people thought, and the multiverse is in danger, essentially. So it is now Hyperforce's permit to basically become like an exiles team and go throughout the multiverse, fix problems where they can, kind of slidersy, kind of exiles. And the next like couple issues or episodes, I want something that can be a lot more episodic, that can take a look at characters individually and even as like groups, to kind of bring them all together and really establish what they're about. So I need to refer to my notes for this one. So let's say Marvin would train with Lauren and learn some lessons about leadership and determination, but this is a universe where Lauren led the Samurai Rangers from the beginning. Like they didn't do the like switcheroo, so we got like a decent Samurai Red Ranger. Eddie can help the Aquitar Blue Ranger Sestro kind of deal with Sestro's sister, who has become like this succubus slash siren thing that will, rather than like absorb water naturally, feeds off the natural water and fluid of a humanoid body. And how Sestro approaches that is kind of how Eddie approached Vesper when she went like cuckoo crazy nuts. Vesper. So a little character development, a little like moving the character forward, that kind of thing. Jack and Chloe can bond together because Jack is like teen dad and Chloe has severe parental issues. So have her bond with Jack and go on this kind of excursion to find her missing father, Mr. Ashford, who had disappeared at the end of season 1, and build up like if he's making a new alliance, if he's got some other plan, and go from there. And I see that happening in a universe where Daggeron was the mentor for the Mystic Force instead of Udana, which could be interesting to see. Vesper, play up the robot thing. That's essentially what I have for Vesper, really. So, in a world where the Turbo Rangers died against Astronomer, like they were caught completely unawares, the Robo Turbo Rangers take their place, and they really struggle with having humanity, and Vesper will be there to kind of help them through that. So again, like establishing who Vesper is, like her personality, and like the kind of internal struggle that she has. Joe Shee, the 6th Ranger, I don't have a lot for him, in all honesty. Like, he came in fairly late, and the only really things I remember about him are that he's a bit of a Lothario. So, for giggles, I want a comedy one-shot of him going on multiple dates at the same time with different villainesses, and maybe like a male villain or two. Like, why not? And just have hijinks, like have Nadira and Trakina, why not? And through hijinks he uses like a device that will split him into 2 people, so he can be in 2 places at once, and it goes terribly, and we'll throw in a fight there so he can be both Hyperforce Green and Time Force Silver, because why not? And from that point, I think establishing a new big bad is the major thing. So that can be Mr. Ashford, who has taken on like more villains, like tie into my Psychopath rewrite and have him bring the Psycho Rangers in, though they choose not to fight the Hyperforce Rangers because they're not evil. They're bad, certainly. They are antagonists, but they don't want to work for someone, say. We could incorporate some newer villains that have happened since 2017. We could have Void Knight show up, that'd be cool. We could have like a new alliance and maybe tie into whatever next year's Power Rangers team is going to be, but we haven't really had any inklings apart from the name Cosmic Fury, so we'll see what that is. But for the time being, I could see Mr. Ashford becoming like a monster and Chloe bringing him back and redeeming him. But I think long term there needs to be a bigger threat as well, and I'm not quite sure on what to do with that. There's like various ideas. I don't want necessarily a bad ranger. I don't want another Drakon, because Drakon served his purpose and continues to serve it a little bit. There's no one who could really take that further. As much as I love putting in the pre-Power Rangers Sentai teams into my Psychopath review, I don't want to add more pre-Zyuranger Sentai or like missing Sentai teams into the Power Rangers canon if I can help it, because I only used the ones I did in Psychopath because Megaforce was stupid enough to put them into canon. So they're there, I might as well use them. But anything new, I don't want to do that, really. I think that is a disservice to the Sentai, and if it's not officially adapted in any other circumstance, like I'm not going to touch it. I'm not sure if I want to create new Rangers. I want to build on like bits of the lore. So like the Battle Knight stuff. I mean, ultimately I'd love to get like the other Saban shows in, but you're not going to get the rights to Master Rider for the comics, I don't think. Beetleborgs even less so. Mystic Knights might be a thing, because they already established the Battle Knights in Hyperforce, so maybe tying into Mystic Knights, because it's like its own thing. Like, I don't see a problem using that, but there might be rights issues, because God knows who owns that at the minute. It's a whole mess. But yeah, I really want another Hyperforce. I want so much more Hyperforce content. I bought the Renegade Studios game box just to have a set of Hyperforce Rangers, because to current date, this and the box that has Joe, the Green Hyperforce Ranger, these are the only physical merchandise you can get for the Hyperforce, and that's a shame because they are a good team. They have a lot to offer the franchise. They're made up of like really cool actors that got good characters. They're a legacy team, and ultimately, like, you can do stuff with them outside of the TV show. Like, you can continue on and have them in the universe and properly establish them. But since Shattered Grid, they haven't really had an appearance anywhere. Nothing's been done with them, unfortunately. But I hope through the endeavours of like this year's Power Month, like that Ranger Liz has been promoting, and I really hope that Hyper RPG gets another chance to do this show. If not them, then I hope that their influence can be done in comic book form or somewhere else. I don't know. Hopefully eventually, like, these guys will have Lightning Collection figures, I hope, because I really want them. And I just want this team not to be forgotten, because it'd be very easy to forget them in terms of like the grander legacy of Power Rangers. So hopefully, like, people will show them some love today, and I hope that Hasbro is listening to our collective voices, and that ultimately Hyperforce will live again. So thank you very much for watching. Remember to tweet #Hyperforce Season 2 please on your social medias. Let me know what you think of the video, what you think of my ideas. If you want to see more of my Pitch Please videos on Power Rangers or anything else. And I will catch you guys soon. May the power protect you. The other one better not be a 20-second one.